the city, in the county. We need to talk to all of you real quickly, real quickly. Come on, come on, come on. And we're so thankful, we're so grateful that you're taking this time. And I need you to share with somebody. Share with somebody. Go ahead. You know, sometimes people get, they like the gossip. Let's spread some good gossip today. Some good gossip. They say, if something happening up there, Burley, we need to see what's going on. So go on and share with them. So this is important. This is concerning you. It will affect your life, your children's life, your everyday living right here in Mitchell County, Georgia. And so we're so glad. So join me in a word of prayer before we open up, if you don't mind. Father God, we just thank you. We just give your name the praise, and we just bless you, and we thank you, God, for allowing us to be here, just to be alive in this time and this season. We thank you, oh God, for what you've done in the black community. And Father, what you've done in our city, oh God, in our county. Thank you for our pillars, oh God, our heroes and sheroes, oh God. They have fought and paved the way for us. And Father, we don't take that for granted. And I thank you now, God, for candidates and those that are running for election. And I give you praise right now, God. Touch your people, oh God, that we, oh God, can advance forward. And we give you praise, oh God. And we still say that the struggle is not over. And we're going to keep it alive. And we thank you now. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So today, I'm sitting here with some of the members of the Mitchell County State of the Black Union Committee, and we have a few city government people that are sitting here today. And I think that it's very important that you listen to what it said, because this will affect your everyday living. So I'm going to introduce real quickly to you our host, none other than Mr. Winston Ross. And I'm going to move from this chair and let him come in his way. So give some hearts and some lights and some stars and tag some more people. Turn it over to you, Mr. Ross, right now.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Miller. My name is Winston Ross. Good evening. And today I will be the moderator of the pilot episode of Barbershop Talk, a production of the State of the Black Community in Mitchell County. We have with us today several of our city council members, as well as those candidates running for office, as well as Mr. Jewel Howard, who is already on the school board, and we're going to ask them probative questions regarding the election, the importance of voting and election here in Mitchell County, Camilla, Georgia. This is our first episode. There'll be some bugs and some kinks that we'll have to work out, but bear with us as we bring this baby into birth. Bear with us. And as Reverend Dr. Miller emphasized, it's important that we speak to our people about the importance of voting and about election. We're going to let some past bygones be bygones, but we know that a voteless people is a hopeless people. So we're going to hope. We're gonna rest our hope in getting as many people to vote this primary election as possible. And at this time, I'm gonna turn the talk over to the Board of Education member, Mr. Jewel Howard. Please, sir.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, let me introduce the panel that I have with me today. On my right there, on the fourth chair, I have Mr. Jerome Juster, former educator in the Mitchell County school system. Second, I have Councilman Morgan, Corey Morgan. He is the Mayor Pro Tem here in the city of Camilla. Next, you heard Mr. Ross. He's already given you his introduction. Also, I have another council member here on my left, and this is Mr. Dwayne Burley. He's the owner and operator of Burley Barbershop, and that's where we are today. And also, we have a candidate here for District 4 Board of Education, Miss Benita White. And Miss White, we certainly appreciate you for being here with us today, because we know that you have some things that you would like to talk to us about with your campaign and your election. So if you would please, would you come and sit right here for me, so we can start the process right now. Because I want you to introduce yourself and tell the voters why you're running for District 4 School Board.
So I'm Bonita Scott White. I am running for the District 4 School Board because I have a vested interest in the education of the students of Mitchell County. A vote for me is a vote for your child. And I know how you feel about your children because I've been working 40 years in the school system with them. I know that the curriculum that's needed for our children to excel, we don't have it in place right now. So it will be my duty, my job, to make sure that that curriculum is afforded to our children. You know, this is not to say anything bad about what has already taken place, but we saw in the Camilla Enterprise where 4 coaches were hired, and their face was all across the paper. But neither one of them have an AP or gifted endorsement on their certificate. Our children are not offered the opportunity to have excel advanced classes. That went away with the former superintendent. So rather than ride on that, I want to tell you that you need to vote. I don't care if the dog catcher is up for election, go vote. Vote because there was a price paid for us to have the opportunity to vote. So I think every black person, every person of color, Hispanic, or any other, should go and vote and take the opportunity to vote. Vote for people. If you don't vote for people who are qualified for the position, the unqualified gets the position. Just know that. And then you have to deal with it. And you can't have the mindset that they're going to make their decisions anyway. They're going to do whatever they want anyway. Well, if you don't vote, they will. But if you vote, you have a voice. Not only should you vote, but once you voted these folks in office, and myself included, you should show up at those meetings. County commission meetings, city council meetings, board meetings, housing authority meetings, all of the meetings that make the decisions that affect your life and the life of our children. So with that said, Mr. Howard.
Well, thank you, Ms. White, for those words. At this time, I have heard many times that people say that my vote doesn't matter. Mr. Judge, have you heard that before? And if you have, why do you think that statement is being made? My vote doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do anyway.
I have heard the statement made, but I do not believe it. Your vote does matter. And I think the reason we say that, many years ago, our elected officials did not represent us. Therefore, we said the vote does not matter. But today, our elected officials does represent the constituents. So your vote does matter. As Mrs. White said, if you don't vote, your vote does not matter. But if you do vote, you are speaking up for what you believe.
To be that one vote. It
One
could be
vote.
that one vote that makes the difference.
That's correct.
Thank you. Also, we have another member of Camilla Council has joined us, Mr. Venterius Park. He's here with us today also. So we might ask him the question. Mr. Pollock, what would you tell the people that live in your district about voting? Although they are not in Ms. White's district, but if there's some kind of something you would say to your people in your district to maybe help her get the vote that she needs in order to win that position over there in District 4.
Thank you. I would definitely say encourage others to vote and the importance of voting. Um, Definitely, we all know that we all don't live in the same areas, the same neighborhood, but uniquely, because Camilla is this small, uniquely big Atlanta city, we can say that we do have relatives in this position, in this community sector of community or district, just as well over here on this other side of the district. So I would definitely say encourage, call, encourage your family members to go and vote that maybe do live in District 2, to go in, well, District 2 or Camilla. Uniquely, when it comes to the school board, there's different locations that names are districts. So District 4, which I think that's white. Just encourage your family members, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, grandparents. Encourage them to go out and vote.
Thank you, Councilman Paula. Councilman Burley, what strategies can we use to motivate the 18 and 20 or 30-year-olds to get out and vote too?
Well, the biggest strategy to me would be educating them, letting them know what's on the ballot, how it will affect them in the future, and getting our young folks in the routine of voting, not just in this election, but every election. And when we start voting in our local communities, there will encourage us to vote for other elections like our midterms, what we got going on, Senate races, governor, representative. But it starts at home. We got to educate our young folks to let them know that this is serious. And our forefathers fought for us to vote, and start involving them into different things for election, getting them out, helping others to get out and tell others about voting. So that's one couple strategies that I think will help.
Thank you.
May I piggyback off
Yes.
of what he said?
Please do.
I teach seniors, juniors, and seniors, and there is on our ballot this time, it talks about legalizing marijuana. And so I told those kids, I said, it's a moral vote, I know, because, the church and the school are the only places that don't change. And so, but we have to know that I think we should vote yes on legalizing marijuana. Only because it takes the government, it puts them in, but it takes them out of it. Most of the black folks that are in jail, the black guys that are in jail, are there for marijuana of some sort, or drugs of some sort. So if you take that power away from them, even if they did like they did moonshine and make it less desirable than running in the woods to get it, I still think that legalizing marijuana should be a yes vote because the people who are going to jail for it are young black males. Young black males go to jail 10 years for a little bit of amount of dope. So that's one thing to encourage you. Get involved because it involves you.
His wife sounds like a psychology major. That's my area.
I think that's the grandma, mom, pop.
Well, the next question goes to our Mayor Pro Tem. How can we create a more informed community? You heard Ms. White and Councilman Burley was talking about informing and getting the young people to understand the importance of voting. So what strategies can we use to create a more informed community?
Absolutely. I think doing what we're doing right now is a great start to that. Having continued conversation. One thing that I think hurts us in the black community is that we don't communicate enough. So engaging in dialogue as often as possible, going live on Facebook, because that's where certain populations of our area are. They're often on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram often. And just inviting them into our spaces, making these spaces comfortable, making people feel wanted and included in these conversations, and just having them often, making sure that people are constantly hearing about all the things that their government is doing, or as simple as what is going on in their community. So engaging in dialogue often is what I think will help just make a more informed community.
Okay, Ms. White, on Tuesday, we are looking to have a large number of people in this community go out and vote. Sometimes they don't have a ride to get to the polls. Is there anything that you know of that might be able to assist those individuals who might have difficulty with transportation?
The only thing I can say is, call somebody, text somebody. All of these gentlemen will help us to get you to the polls. Now I have one vehicle, so I can help you get to the polls. But I just feel like if you want to get there, listen, I work with teenagers. So I know these folks don't have jobs, but yet they can go to Panama City and spend $1,000 on room. If you want to get there, you'll get there. When things are important, we make a way to get there. If I had to walk, and when something is important, those old folks back did not have transportation, but they got to the polls. They got their vote counted. So I'm saying to you, if you need a ride, text somebody. Reach out. Because we're not mind readers. We want you to vote. I want you to vote for me. If you need a ride for me to take you, I will do that. But I won't know unless you contact me or some of these gentlemen around me or anybody. I just believe if you just ask anybody about a ride to the poll, you could get it.
All right, thank you, Ms. White, for that. In Mitchell County, we have 25,000 people. We have 13,140 registered voters. And that information came from the Superintendent of the Election Office here in Camilla. We have 24,000 people, and with 13,000, we're a little over 50%. So there's a lot of room for voter registration. Do you think that in the near future that we might be able to have voter registration drives so that we can get more of these young people registered to vote and then voting? What do y'all think about the voter registration drive? Mr. Burns?
I think it would be a great thing. And piggyback on what Mrs. White stated, the school system is one of the best places to get it started. I understand when it's time for them to sign up for elective service, that's the time when they can do this. And also they're getting driving license. We want to piggyback on that. That's where it really gets started. And doing voter registration, not only when it's election time, but we should be trying to do this throughout the year. A lot of times we want to promote voter registration when it's time for election. But a lot of times we got to understand that if that individual haven't voted in the last 3 elections, therefore he'd have been opted out. So now we got to re-register them again in order for them to be able to vote. So it's always good to keep your voter registration checked and promote voter registration for the community.
Good. I also want to ask a question here. Do you all know that if a person has been arrested, but they have not been charged and they're still at the jail, that they can vote?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow. So maybe we need to let those individuals know that as long as they have not been adjudicated for a crime, they can still vote. So we have people still out there, and some people say, I can't vote because I'm on paper. Mm-hmm. Then they don't really understand that if they have not committed a crime in the last 5 years, mm-hmm. they do not have a probation, mm-hmm. or if they don't have a fine, they can reactivate their voter registration drive. Mm-hmm. Do you all have we been passing that information along to people?
No. Well, I was going to say I had a mini voter registration drive about 3 weeks ago, and there was a young man that came, and Kim Brooks did tell him and made him aware of that. We all know that knowledge is power. We all know that because you don't know what you don't know. And so she told him, registered him right there, looked him up, and found out that he could register. There was another young man that came to the table, and he thought he was registered, and he was not registered. So I agree with Councilman Burley. We should not just wait till election time to do this. We should involve our young people because we want them to serve. We want them to stay in our county. We want them to stay in our city. When they finish their college degree, we want them to come back. But if they're going to come back and the same old mindset is in place, then, come on, y'all. They're not going to stay here. But if you invite them, come out to the school. We use it for everything, even funerals. We use it for everything. Invite the kids to come in. Let's talk. Do just what we're doing now. Let's talk. Because I'm telling you, they're making decisions themselves that does not involve you. They have their own chat groups. They have their own, so they talk to each other.
That's true.
So if you let them know, so a lot of times I'll tell them, put this in your chat group. And so I think parents is another way to get involved. Going back to school, none of the schools have PTAs and PTOs. That went away. I think parents ought to be involved, and I think that the schools should have chat groups by grade so that the parents can know what's going on with their children in the school and can get the parent and the child involved in voter registration, voter voter registration, and all of those things. Get the parents involved, get the students involved. There's so many ways to do this, and we're doing it the same old way. And if you do the same thing the same way, I heard them say it's called insanity. Is that right?
It's very insane.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Doctor.
I was listening to Ms. White. I want to say that as an African American, we can't afford not to vote.
Exactly.
We sang those songs, we come this far by faith. I'm wondering, do our young folk really know how far we've come? They're making decisions that don't even include us. Now, we're wide open right here. We ain't in no back room. This is no back room meeting. We right here in the public so everybody can see us. But I'm I'll say some stuff that I'll probably get in trouble for. They'll have meetings, private meetings that don't even include us. And people are making decisions about your life. And so that's why we can't afford not to vote. Your life is at stake here. So the shirt says Black Voters Matter. And the state of Georgia right now is the proof that our vote matters. No one expected Georgia to turn blue. That came out of nowhere. But look what happened. Because people got out. So one vote makes a difference.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. I'm coming. Let me get Mr. Paul here, Councilman Paul.
Definitely piggyback on what Councilman Morgan, the question was proposed to Mayor Pro Tem Morgan, and then I heard Mr. Burley talk about it, I heard Ms. White talk about it. And I often hear this conversation very often. It's one word that is proven that we must change our way of doing things, and that's that word invite. Invite can be very broad. Invite can mean so many things to other people in their mindsets. But as we talk about the new generation, this generation that we did the present time, we need to get that mindset of invite. Get in the mindset of meet them where they at. Because not all the time that you want the expectancy of them to come to you. What about you going to them and letting them know that I'm not afraid or I'm not too good to be where you at? Because oftentimes that happens as leaders. We want to invite and tell them to come to us, but we don't want to step outside the arena and say, no, I'm going to meet you just where you at. Because where you at, it can start, because to be exact, where you at, that's where I started. And if I have gotten to this place and I'm a leader, you see me as a leader, I want you to know and be inspired that you could be that same person. I came from that same neighborhood, that same community. But it does not make me who I am. That choice belongs to you. And you can be in anything that you desire and want to be. But sometimes as leaders, we often we got that stuck in our head, invite. Oftentimes happen in the city. A lot of things that go on downtown. Well, the first thing they say, oh, you was invited. Yeah, we were invited.
Yeah.
Just because we were invited, do that really speaks to us being invited? Especially when you're not doing things that includes us. We're not invited. So that word there, I think that needs to be changed. Invited. We often want to be invited. Meet them where they at. And I think that's the only way that we're gonna get our youth,
Yeah.
this society now, this present age. That's the only way we're gonna get them.
And
So they're not coming there. They're not coming.
And another thing you have to know that they say you have to make it make sense.
Yeah, make it make sense.
If it doesn't make sense to them, you can forget it.
You can forget it.
We have got to make it make sense. Because like you say, to say come, you invited. But when they get there, you got all the questions. So that's not an invite. That is come and listen to me. Tell you what to do again. So we got to make it make sense to young people. That them being a part of city council. The mayor came out and visited my class and told them that they're getting ready to start a youth council where some of the youth will be invited to be a part of the city council. Not on the city council voting part, but in the mix. And so when he told them that, I saw a couple of our football players walk up to him to find out more about what he was talking about. They want to know, but you have to make it make sense to them because they don't see city government as something that makes sense to them. Or what happens at the Board of Education. You know, they say they down there making them rules, which the Board of Education is about policy. It's about policy. And so we have to make it make sense.
All right, well, thank you, ma'am. Didn't I hear someone on this side want to say
Yes,
something?
in reference to getting people who have been incarcerated re-registered to vote. The state of the black community in Mitchell County, we passed out information letting people know that you can be reinstated, and we gave them the process of how to go about being reinstated. An example, Joseph Session in Sale City, because of that information, registered or re-registered 5 people who did not know they could be re-registered because of the information we put out. Changing the subject to being inclusive and invited. I have always advocated wanting to be included, not waiting until the decision is made, but to include me meaning black people, poor people, from ground root up. And that's what Councilman Pollock talk about. We want to be included. Yes, if I invite you to be included, that means I make decisions from the foundation, not after you have made the decision, and then I work on top of that. I want to be at the foundation making decisions. That's what inclusive means. So we need to include our people, and maybe at the next barbershop talk, we can include some younger people to get their ideas about these same topics. I think that's powerful.
All right, thank you, sir. Also, during my years of growing up in my hometown,
I just want to say something about the convicted felons.
oh yes, ma'am. Come on, absolutely.
I'm sorry, maybe everybody knows who I am. You're fine.
I know, but they nobody didn't move with me.
I just want to kind of piggyback on the convicted felon voting in the state of Georgia. I am a convicted felon. And in my sentencing, the judge did not take away my right to vote. You can still be a convicted felon and vote in the state of Georgia if your crime is not of moral turpitude. A lot of people don't know that. Up until I moved to Mitchell County,
Could you explain
even
what that
well,
means?
more turpitude is several crimes that fall under moral turpitude. And if I'm not mistaken, and I don't want to say it wrong because I haven't read it in a long time, But there are certain crimes like some drug charges don't fall under moral turpitude. And there are a lot of people who are convicted felons that are not aware that they can still vote, because if the judge does not check that box stating that you cannot vote or you can vote, your right to vote is not taken away. My right to vote was not taken away. It was when I came to Mitchell County. When I came to Mitchell County, and I was able to vote up until 2017, 2018. I think it was an election around 2018. I went up to vote. They told me I couldn't vote, and I took all of my paperwork up there showing them that my right to vote was not taken. Now, had I still lived in Dougherty County, I could still vote with no problem. But I think that's per se too, it may be by a county thing because it happened to me, which I don't have a problem now. But when you always talking about the convicted felons or people get them to vote, a lot of people are felons and they think they can't vote, but they can vote. Right. Only thing you got to do is check your sentencing paperwork. And if the sentencing paperwork does not have that box checked saying that your right to vote was taken, you can still vote.
All right.
So I just want to pass that along.
That's very good information. Thank you, man. Thank you. Audience, we have another candidate to join us. This is Miss Kimberly Brooks. And Miss Brooks, if you would please, would you tell the audience your name and why you're running for the city council position here in Camilla?
Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Brooks. On the ballot, you will see Kim Brooks. I'm running for city council because I want to continue the changes that are being made by District 1. District 2 is in need of a lot of changes. We have not had major changes in our district, and that needs to change. Our population is dwindling, and when your population dwindles, that's because you don't have the resources coming in. And when you don't have the resources coming in, you have people leaving out. And that should not happen in our city. We should be bringing the resources into our city. One of the major things that I have seen with our population dwindling is that you have a hard time competing for state and local grants. And when that comes into play, you lose a lot of resources. And we should not be losing resources to any other county or city.
Question. You say you lose out because you can't compete for the grants. So what's the remedy for competing for these?
We got to try to keep our citizens here, and with keeping them here, we got to try to bring the resources here. We got to try different things that other cities have, and see if it will work. You will never know if it doesn't work if you don't try. So.
Yes, Ms. Brooks. The present council is in the process of talking about building a new Boys and Girls Club. What is your position on
that? I love it. I am a Boys and Girls Club alumni. I am a former Boys and Girls Club worker. And I love it. It's time. It's time for us to build that Boys and Girls Club. The club on Honey Street have been there since I've been in Camilla, and I've been here 32 years. So that's a long time. The bathrooms are still the color pink. The rooms are still the same color. It is time. Our kids need something new.
Absolutely. Paint is filling out the wall.
The paint is filling out the wall. If you don't know, when it rains, they have to go and get sandbags. If it rains hard, it's going to flood out. One of the rooms have actually flooded. That's not good to have our kids in that type of environment. We need to build that new club for our kids to have somewhere safe to play.
That flooded room was my husband's ag room. And the other part, what is the teen center, I took home ec there. Mm-hmm. I am a 1971 graduate.
So the school that hosts the Boys and Girls Club is old.
It's old.
So it's time for it.
It is old.
Yes, sir.
Take it back. Bringing in resources to Camilla, Mitchell County. We need to bring in industry, any type of industry. I realize we are a farm community. We are majority farm industry. But we need to diversify. We need to bring in other industries. Now, the reason we don't have that, go back to voting. We need to vote to put people in place who are going to fight to bring in industry. If we don't vote to put people in place, we will continue to have people pushing industry some other place. For example, Miller Brewery, bottling company, was supposed to come here. Powers to be said, no, they gonna start minimum wage at $12. We can afford that. So they voted it out and then went to motion. Now it's in Albany. Uh, the Marine base years ago was supposed to have been here in Mitchell County. But because no one wanted the area to grow, the powers to be wanted to keep the little money coming in. Money breeds money, poverty breeds poverty. So they wanted to keep poor people poor and keep rich people rich. So they vote out, they prevent industry from coming to Camilla. We need to vote to put people in place who will fight to have industry to come into Camilla, Mitchell County. Not just Camilla. Anything that benefits Mitchell County or neighboring counties will benefit Mitchell County.
Thank you, sir. And as I was saying some time ago, when I was growing up in the 60s, one of the things that I noticed that the churches were more involved in getting people or their parishioners to register to vote. I know some of the rules and the laws have changed because if you're 501c3, you cannot tell someone who to vote for. But the churches can still talk to their parishioners about voting. So why do you think, and maybe some of your churches are doing that, but why do you think that we don't have a more concerted effort from our churches trying to motivate people to vote? We're gonna let everybody talk. Go ahead, Doc.
I'm gonna speak as a preacher.
Yes, sir.
Fear.
All right.
Fear. Um, maybe some of you seen this Facebook thing that went viral. This certain preacher that said that if you was a Democrat, you were going to hell. And it has become a religious political battle. And when some preachers start speaking of, they are afraid that their 501 will be intentionally targeted. But like you just said, a lot of our preachers need to be educated how to use their platform, because it's a very crafty warfare that's going on against the preacher. And so, but it was the church that really was the drum major that Dr. King and those used, and especially the pillar for the black community. You're absolutely right. We can do better. Matter of fact, I'll say we will do better. And so I'm rallying preachers. Open your mouth. Use that platform. Listen, for the glory of God. We've come too far by faith. You know, they always told me, the scripture said, the first going to be last, and the last going to be first. We've been last too long. It's time for us to be first.
The movement started in the church.
All right, be quiet.
Well, I think I said it. The movement started at the church, Mr. Howard. Okay. If you go back and study Dr. King and the movement and all of that, of course, Rosa wasn't the first one that wouldn't get up off the bus. But the movement started in the church, so it's always they always met at the church. And like you said, now we have to worry about the 501c3, but not either we're gonna push in our churches to do what is right, or we're gonna sit back and wait on a handout, which is called a 501c3. Well,
Yeah. Mr. Bird. What? I'm sorry.
You're perfectly fine. Go right ahead, Mr. Bird. They have pretty much said everything that need to be said.
Yeah, yeah, and I like the term that Dr. Miller used. A lot of our ministers, pastors are fearful of what could possibly happen. And going back to Ms. White, if we just think about how this thing started, it started in the church. The movement started there. So, and pastors have the influence of their congregation. They can meet their young folks on their level, and the young folk will respect them and they'll listen to them. But I think that all of our pastors in this community just need to get together and get on one accord. I think they talk a game, but they're not on one accord when it comes down to this. And Dr. Miller, you need to push it.
Mr. Ross, anything from you, sir, about that? The issue?
As regards the issue of religion and politics, well, we know that much of Dr. King's philosophy is grounded in liberation theology, a movement that began through the Roman Catholic Church in Latin America. So that movement that helped fuel the civil rights era of the 50s and the 60s and was spearheaded by the black church that changed America, the face of America and the trajectory of America that our church today, church leaders have seemed to have backed away from.
From Tim?
I too agree. Our churches play a very vital role in our democracy. We had an earlier question about getting people to the polls on Tuesday. I think this is a prime time for some of our churches to fill that gap next week. Just offer rides to polls. They really have a stronghold in the community. And when our churches and clergy just really unite and really address this issue, I do believe they can do a lot in helping this area in our community.
Mayor Pro Tem, tell you what Dr. Joe told us.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we're going to fix bags, and we'll have a pack of cookies in it and some water, so you know you can't give it to people in the line. But when we ride you in the car, get your bag in case you have to stand there waiting for flow. We'll have it ready. We'll have it ready for you. So if you need water, if you're diabetic and you need a pack of Neocart cookies, you know, that'll be in the bag, or some candy this suck on peppermint or something. So there are ways around the roadblocks, the things that have been set in place to make, and it's all, y'all know what it all is all about. It is all to discourage us from voting. If I got to go through all that, then I ain't gonna do it. Listen, but if we remember the folks who started voting, who voted so that we could have a black president one day, and we have had, those folks didn't let anything stop them. Did not let anything stop them. They came from the country on horses and wagons and stuff, and did what they needed to do to get their vote cast. So there are many ways for us to participate.
We just gotta strategize different, and you gotta think 2 steps ahead. Yeah. Like you said, you can't have water and stuff in the line. Put it in the car. You get out, get your bag, go on. And I think that's the same thing with the pastors. They got to strategize a little bit better with telling their members. Since the pandemic, we have been live streaming a whole lot of church events. Wait till the camera cut off. Tell one member, hey, pastor say vote for this person. The pastor say go and vote. And let it be word of mouth passing through. That way you're not messing with your 501c3. It's not recorded. You're doing word of mouth throughout the church.
Excuse me, correct me if I'm mistaken, Mr. Howard, but sustenance can be passed out, even in line, as long as you're not soliciting a particular vote.
Right.
No, you cannot give any water, anything while people in line.
Right.
Okay. That's in Senate Bill 202.
Yeah, nothing.
I was listening to what she said to Dr. Joe. That's an ingenious idea.
Absolutely.
What needs to happen in the preachers community. We got to tell the truth. Those preachers got to stop privately warfaring against each other. Some matters are not religious. It's life. This some matter we just got to come together on. No, I'm not saying Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe come to everything. He is open for everything. He's a hero of our community. But sometimes the religious figures, they'll hold their denominational differences, and they won't come together because of that. And I call it foolishness. But sometimes we got to drop this stuff because our race is at stake. Our people, our culture. We ought to be able to come together regardless of what your religion, even if they're Muslims, Hebrew Israelites, we black. That's the important thing we got to look at. And all of that matters. And so if we are in a religious leadership spot, we have the accountability and responsibility. And we should be held accountable to lead our people to the poll so our voices will matter.
Thank you. Mr. Justin, if you would too, you get this last word, and then I'll give the candidate an opportunity to talk to the people one more time, asking them to get out and vote for them on Tuesday. Mr. Justin.
I only wanted to ask if our guests had some comment. They are not on this panel, but they are guests. And you may come forward and comment on any of the topics we discussed.
Can you work with them young people?
I'll relinquish my seat. Come on.
Affiliated with the church.
Can you see right here? Come on.
All I would like to say is these platforms are good. They're great. But the main thing is we must take action. And everything that we do, it's good to put the information out there so that everyone will be informed. But you know, we can talk all day, but we must show our youth. That's the thing. Show our youth that we're willing to take action. We're willing to get out there on the front line and lead by setting great examples.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. Well, at this time, what we'll do, we have approached 7 o'clock. It's 7:27 by my watch, on my phone here. So what we'll do, the last 1.5 minutes for Ms. Kimberly Brooks, who's running for City Council District 2, and school board member Ms. Anita White, running for District 4. Ms. Kim, would you give us your final statement of what you want the voters to do for you on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, I want you guys to go out and vote Kim Brooks for District 2 City Council. We must continue the trend that District 1 has already laid out and started. We must continue. We must continue to grow. We must continue. We're trying to get some economic development here, some housing, some more recreation for our babies. We have to continue. Let's continue to fight. Get behind me on Tuesday, May 24th. Brooks for City Council, District 2. Let's continue this journey and this fight with District 1.
All right. Ms. White?
The voting location, I'm sorry, voting location is at the City Hall. We have one location, but because the primaries is going on, that will take place at the courthouse. But City Council election will take place at City Hall from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you are in line at 6:59, I need you to stay there until 7 o'clock. Do not move until you have voted. Again, if you're there at 6:59, stay in line. You have a right to vote. So please, Tuesday, May 24th, Camilla City Hall, Brooks for District 2.
Thank you. And let me make this clarification too. That there are 2 elections that's taking place in Camilla. If you live in District 2 for City Council, you will vote, as Ms. Brooks told you, you'll vote at City Hall. Once you finish that voting, then you come on over you go to your polling place and you vote again, because that it will be the state and the county election. So if you're in District 2, you're gonna vote twice. Don't forget that. Just because you go to the city council meeting and vote for Miss Kimberly Brooks, you can't go home yet. You got to go to your polling place, or either go to your polling place before you come to City Hall to vote, then you can go home. Thank you very much. At this time, Ms. White, would you close us out, please?
I just want to say to the city of Camilla, the people of Mitchell County, which includes all of the cities, that a vote for me is a vote for your child. The people who are running for the Board of Education doesn't have anybody in the school system. Anybody. I have 23 grandchildren, and 12 of which are currently in the Mitchell County school system. People talk bad about the Mitchell County school system, but my grandchildren are there, and they're getting a quality education. So I think if you vote for me, put me on the Board of Education, I will be your voice. I'm not afraid to speak. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I've been in all of the positions with the Board of Education except for a janitor and food service, and I may have done those. I may have done those. So anyway, when you get ready to vote for me, you will have to go to your precinct. As Kim said, the city council race is District 2. However, the Board of Education race is District 4, which means that you will be at your precinct voting for a county election. Not only that, people, but there are several things on the ballot that needs to be voted on, and we need to vote on them. When you get in the car and we give you the bag with the water and the ice and the cookie, we can also give you a sample ballot to tell you who may be, so that you won't be confused. People say, well, I look at the ballot and it's too much stuff on there. I look at that. I don't know none of these folks. We know them. We know them. And we are willing to share with you the information that we have gleaned. So again, I'll say, please vote for me. I solicit your vote.
Can we thank Mr. Burley?
Oh, absolutely. We certainly want to thank Mr. Burley for allowing us to be here at Burley Barbershop today. We look forward to meeting with you all again and having this kind of forum again. Maybe the next time we'll ask you to appear on the program, or you can give us some ideas of topics that you would like for us to discuss. So until the next time, you all go out and vote. We'll see you at the poll, or you tell me once you wear your insignia on your clothes that you have voted. We certainly do appreciate you. Good night. Have a good dinner.
That's so old school. I don't know.